Okay, I'm going to try and move things a little bit more into center here, hoping I don't knock everything over in the process. And I got my little cameras a little bit closer to one another here. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am using this space to just kind of talk about a little bit about our first 2 days of homeschooling, how it's going, the projects that we are currently working on, and just our goals kind of for the year. I want to be able to check in periodically, either live or just through these recorded videos, and just kind of let you guys know where we're at. And the reason that I'm doing that is because homeschooling is something that I have been considering doing ever since my children were born. It was, there was always something pretty obvious to me that spoke to a parent's natural ability and right to educate their child as they see fit. Now, if anybody has seen my live stream with Rabbi Oliver, they'll know that, in Germany, parents don't have the option to homeschool their children. It is illegal there. It is illegal to educate your own children in your own home. That's how much authority that the state has over your own children. Now, I don't know if any of you have been following the news, but if you've been watching any of the video in Australia, there are police forcibly removing teens from their home to vaccinate them. And I don't know about you. I don't know how big of a piece of you'd have to be, how much you'd have to pay me to go into someone's home and remove a child against their will. There is no amount of money in the world that would turn me into that big of a scumbag. And yet we have police officers in Australia doing that as we speak. All that being said, our decision to homeschool comes from years of getting to know people. When I was young, growing up in South Philly, we went to just a neighborhood Catholic school, parochial school. So we knew everybody within, 2 or 3 blocks in every direction. And there were a ton of kids and we were all in school together. And as far as I did not know anybody that homeschooled. So to me, only freaks homeschooled. And this was a notion that I carried with me for some time. It wasn't until I got older and we started attending a non-denominational Christian church that I started to meet families that were actually homeschooling. And even then, it seemed to me like the families that were homeschooling were very fundamentalist, to the letter, to the T, Christian families, that they probably wore long skirts and that their shirts probably came way up here to be modest, and they braided their hair and such things. So obviously still a lot of that like old propaganda about what education looks like was still stuck in my brain. And it just took time. It took time. And you know what else it took? It took a lot of patience from you homeschooling families. So if we have been friends for any number of years and you're tuning into this, know that you have inspired me to feel like I am capable of doing this. And I think that truly is the government's fear, is that parents will come to a place where they do feel comfortable and confident and capable of educating their own children, right? And so what is the scariest thing to a government that wants to be a dictatorial, authoritarian, medical tyranny? The most dangerous thing to that kind of a system is an educated child. What they are pushing now in the schools is simply unacceptable. And I'm not even talking about the critical race theory and the other things that are kind of the hot topics of the day. That has nothing to do really with my long-term reasons for homeschooling, but that certainly does play into it a little bit. I was listening to a really interesting podcast, and he was talking about that the root word of culture is, of course, the cult, and it's the practice of what you do, the traditions that you carry down and that you pass on as a family. And so what happens when we have children that are going into government-funded, government-run, free preschools is that we have parents that are essentially only parenting their children up until the age of 3. And at that point, the culture of the parents is no longer relevant, because at that point you have essentially abdicated responsibility of passing your culture down to a school. And I know that is probably going to make some families feel really uncomfortable and probably get you pretty mad at me, and I'm okay with that. But the bottom line is that you as the parent have to take responsibility for the fact that you have been allowing somebody else to do that job. And so that's where I'm at now. Yeah, and everybody left alive. I'm not surprised. So the reasons that we chose to homeschool Grace this year, first of all, she was just really willing. She was a willing student. She had a very rough year last year for second grade. And I think that by and large, that was a result of the teaching method, simply the online learning distance model. I just think that is something, it just didn't work for her. It didn't work for a lot of students. I mean, a lot of students fell behind. I was talking to somebody who works doing fundraisers for one of the charter schools in the city. And she was telling me what educators have found is actually the opposite of what they would expect, that they have found that the boys have their boys' grades have improved while girls' grades have dropped. And I think that really speaks to what women, the way that women and men are educated, the way that we take information in, the way that we file that information in our heads, and then how we access that information to use it. Just that to me highlights the need for homeschooling or a community schooling type of atmosphere, because when you have those smaller settings, you can really tailor things to the child's individual interests, and then that gets the kid excited for learning. So I'm just going to share with you guys what we did yesterday. Yesterday we decided would be day one of homeschooling. I filed the paperwork officially on Friday, and then I think they gave me an official receipt on Monday, but we started Sunday because that's when I filed the paperwork, and that's when they said I could start. So we started 2 days afterwards. Right now, all I have for her is kind of a basic second grade review math book, and that's just so that she can get used to doing some math problems here at home on her own. So we worked through that. I gave her a page and I said, I'm going to give you 15 minutes. I would like to see you get this page done. It's 20 addition problems. And if you get it done, that's great. If you want to do more, you can. But if not, we're just going for just practice. We're just easing you into things today. And so she sat down and did that. At the end of that time limit, it was interesting because I had, and this is where I guess my brain is still trying to work through the details of this, right? So I had asked her, please get this page of questions done in this amount of time, and as the time was passing, I'm like, well, if she doesn't get them done, I don't want her to feel disappointed in herself. So when I went back in to just check on her and see how her progress was going, I made it a point to say, hey, if you don't get all the problems done, that's okay. Really, it's just this kind of see where you're at. And this isn't school where like there's grades or you're going to get in trouble or you're going to like disappoint the teacher. I love you. Like nothing, you don't have to keep going. I didn't want her to feel frustrated by the experience. So, but really, much to my delight, her sister walked in and saw what she was doing and said, like, oh, hey, you want me to sit down and help you with the last couple of problems? And she did. So she sat with her sister and did a little bit of math, which I thought was really adorable. We did some science stuff, but I can't remember. We did a bike ride. We went out into the garden and harvested vegetables. So we talked a little bit about plant life cycles and different animals and little bugs and insects that live in the grass, and how you can, when you're pulling weeds out, you can actually see the little bugs scattering. So we kind of talked a little bit about science stuff. And then she did a little bit of independent reading. And then today I went out to just get some errands done, fully not expecting her to take the bull by the horns, as it were, but she did. And she look how cute this is. She built this habitat. Okay, so we got a delivery from Chewy, and what she did is she had gotten this stuffed turtle the other day. And so she wanted to learn more about turtles. She wanted to learn more about where they live, what their habitat is like. So her and her dad today, this is so cool. This is what I love about homeschooling too, right? Because the super cool thing is that her and her dad decided to build a habitat out of things that we had laying around the house. And then when we got home, she explained each part of the habitat, why it's helpful, where she cut up some little, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, she cut up some little sponges to make like some sea foam here. And she has the fish. She has some plant life. And so this is what she did. She took this upon herself and she learned a little bit about turtles. I bought her a journal today that I had fully intended on being her science journal. So I was quite delighted, of course, to come in and see that she had begun working on the science stuff independently. Very cool to me. So later on, we are going to do hopefully that second page of math. And I do want to read a little bit. I really wanted to focus more on history for these first two quarters, as it were. And then the second half of the year be more science-based. And the reason for that is that I wanted to have some time to get projects involved that would be very hands-on. I already have some things lined up that would be good for a history or a geography class for her. So I would love, of course, I don't know what the rules are now with the coronavirus, right? But I would like for her to be able to go down and actually see where the Declaration of Independence was signed. We did pick up a book about it. So that's going to be kind of the history lesson for this quarter will be all about the Declaration of Independence. And then we have another book on the Constitution. And so we will talk about that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously they're very similar topics. So we'll talk about them similarly at the same time, but they are two separate books. They are going to be two separate lessons. So I don't know. She seems kind of enthused about both the science and the history aspect of this year. And I appreciate that. I know those are, kind of her favorite subjects. And I've just been very clear with her that the process that we are following right now is that the only formal curriculums that I have right now for her are English. I have an excellence in writing program that I think is actually a little advanced for her. I would love to find some more homeschooling moms that are around that are maybe have kids in the second, third, fourth grade range in Philadelphia that are interested in doing this program. It is older. It is very methodical. It can be a little bit boring, which is why I think it's better to do it in a group possibly. But it does give very simple step-by-step instructions, and it does build one skill upon the next. And the fact that it is very strict means that it produces a child who is good at explaining things and is good at putting their thoughts down on paper. And I think we need that more than ever, right? So that is the program that we're going to be using. In terms of math, I have not purchased a formal math curriculum at the moment because I'm a little torn between Math You Can See and shucks, what's the other one? What's the other math I was going to use? I don't know. It's a more old school one, I guess. Certainly nothing that would mirror what resembles Common Core math of today. We'll say that much. We're not doing anything that resembles Common Core. So for that reason, I'm going to be taking her back to second grade math just to really build those fundamental skills, because I do want to move forward and really get her not only caught up, because she's obviously very far behind, but I also want to get her maybe even a little bit beyond a third grade level at the end of the year. I would say that the thing that I have the most ambition for is math and writing for her. But of course, her ambition is art and gym and arts and crafts and, making things and doing projects, and all of that is fine. So for us, I feel like we are trying to find a balance this year. It's not necessarily all about grades for her this year. This year is really about, I've told her this year is all about her being my teacher too, because she's teaching me how she learns. And so that gives me an opportunity to look around at different curriculums and see what maybe fits her learning style best. It's not a one size fits all where every kid gets thrown the same textbook at the beginning of the year and gets the same lessons all throughout the year. Wherever we go, whichever curriculum we do decide to go with, we can take those lessons as fast or as slow as we can. And I think that's another one of the benefits of homeschooling, is that you don't have to feel rushed. Although I know many homeschooling moms do begin to feel a little bit rushed around June 30th when everybody's portfolio is due. But I think that's natural and it's good. But homeschooling is really just giving us the opportunity to do what we feel is best for her right now. And it gives me a little bit of certainty. At least I know what I'm doing for the rest of the year. I know that this is not going to, somebody's not going to pull the rug out from under me at some point and tell me that this isn't going to work anymore. Now, that still may happen with my other two children, but that remains to be seen. It was kind of cool today to send that like final official email to Grace's school. I had to send the official paperwork to the school district on Friday, which I did. And I did contact the school on Friday, but it was late in the day and they didn't get back to me until this morning. I had to send an email, like formally withdrawing her from school. And it was just every time I make one of those steps, when I like submit the paperwork or when I buy a curriculum or when I have to send an email, there's always this moment of like absolute panic. Like, oh my God, do I really want to do this? But that panic is such a small fraction of the anxiety that I felt worrying about how the school year was going to go for her. So the moment that I had today was in the middle of Walmart because all of the back to school stuff was out and was on sale. And it suddenly occurred to me that I had spent so much time trying to figure out this homeschooling thing for Grace that I spent almost no time getting anything ready for my other children. So I started to have like this initial moment of panic because I'm looking at the school bags and the pencil cases and I'm like, oh my God, did I just ruin her whole life by doing this? She's not going to get to buy a book bag and carry books around and see her friends. And it's like, oh God. Have you seen the product of like most government schooling? I'm not impressed. What do I feel like she's really missing out on? Nothing. Not a whole lot. Those moments of like temporary panic, I really acknowledge those as being part of this programming that is simply no longer serving me. I'm just super grateful for friends that took the time to like explain things to me and to be patient with all the stupid, probably really rude questions that I probably asked in the beginning about homeschooling. But I'm thankful for patient friends. And I'm hoping to find some new ones in the area. I do know, as of right now, I do know a lot of homeschooling moms, but what I don't know is homeschooling moms that have kids right around my age that are right here in, say, this Philadelphia area. Specifically, second, third, fourth grade range, because I would just love to get some other folks to maybe be interested in this excellence in writing program. Again, it is old, but it's pretty good. So I know there is a lot of time. I know that homeschooling rates have doubled and in most areas. I know in the beginning, it certainly seemed like a burden. That sounds wrong. It certainly seems like a burden I'm going to say it anyway. Certainly seemed like a burden to have the kids home all the time, right? And what I mean by that is simply that we are a society that has always been set up upon the social contract. Well, the social contract that's been in place since 1933, when the government-run public schools began. There has been the social contract in place that we have our children, they get to the age of first grade, and then there is an education system that's 5 days a week, and then presumably mom can work. And so we've kind of gotten used to like being a 2-income society. So I think for a lot of women, when children were initially sent home, it was really hard for them because it's a big change going from a full-time working mom to like a full-time distance learning interpreter, tech supervisor, full-time mom who's also handling an entire pandemic, right? That change is drastic, and there was no support for any of us during it. And so a lot of parents really, I think, experienced education and experienced like, just for me, a math class might be 45 minutes to an hour. Now, this isn't second grade. We're talking 7-year-old kids that are on a Zoom lesson, okay? So it's not like they're even in a classroom where their attention can be like wrapped a little bit more. It's really just, they're all over the place because they're at home. So 50% of the class time was spent trying to work out tech issues, asking people to repeat themselves, asking them to mute their mic. Uh, I don't even know. Answering questions about whether somebody can go to the bathroom. At least half of the time was complete and utter nonsense. There's nothing, no educational value at all. Then when you actually got into the lesson, which was about 20 minutes, about half of that was a video that the teacher put on. And then there were a couple lessons that the teacher would, or I'm sorry, a couple problems that the teacher would work through. And then there's some independent work. And this is a pretty great setup for math. I mean, that's the way it should be. It's demonstrated, it's shown to you, you're offered help with it, you do it yourself, you practice, you master it. Great. But what would happen is we got to the point where I would just have her sitting there in front of the computer, but she wasn't really paying attention. And so I was just there and I was teaching it to her. And it would take us 5 to 10 minutes. And we would be done. We would be done the page. We'd be done that little section. We'd be done the whole thing. And she didn't start the lesson yet. And I'm not saying it's the teacher's fault. I believe it is it's really the fault of the modality of teaching that they were trying to force on kids and teachers. It's not the fault of the teachers, although the teachers certainly decided that this is the way they wanted to do things, and they're responsible for that choice. But I don't think it's like the actual teacher that was the problem. It's the setting. It's the setting and the age group. You know, that my 5th grader had a very different math class than my 2nd grader did. But none of them really excelled during this last year. And these were kids that always did excel. This year, I am just thankful that we have the opportunity to homeschool Grace. Thankful that we've had time to kind of figure it out, that we've had friends that were willing to be patient and just show us the way. So I am going to take some pictures, and I have to do some filing and bookkeeping and other such things. Just wanted to let you guys know what we were up to. We are having a great time so far. She is really enjoying it. We are looking for some, Bible studies and things that we can join during the week. I know that the one community Bible study that they have I think a special group specifically for homeschool moms. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. We're also going to try and enroll her in some maybe more organized things, even if it's through our church or through the local school. There are ways to do that with sports and extracurriculars too. So it's like the more you hang around these homeschool moms, the more you learn. There really are a lot of resources available in the Philadelphia area. I strongly encourage you that if you are unhappy with the state of your child's education for any reason, that you consider homeschooling. I know that it might be hard if you're working. I certainly don't suggest that I could do it if I was working full-time either. But school can really be anytime. It can be on a Sunday like we did yesterday, and it can be a really fun, positive experience. It made her excited to get up and learn today and take on a new project from start to finish with just some help from her dad. And today her dad got to be her teacher, right? And so how cool is that? Because that's something that my parents certainly never got to experience. And it's something that we get to, and it's something that she gets to benefit from. And I just think it's amazing, I do think a little bit about what my mom would say. Peter, you out there?
Yeah.
What do you think my mom would think of us homeschooling Grace?
I don't know.
You don't know? I think my mom would be like, bring her over, I'll do the health lesson.
Yeah.
I think my mom, the nurse, would be the one to do our health lessons. Oh, that was the other thing we did. We did a little bit of a safety protocol on the bike thing. When we were out riding our bikes yesterday. It's kind of interesting because what this has done is that it's put my mind into a mode where I'm always thinking about how our day-to-day activities can be learning experiences for her. And what that does is put my focus more on what can I learn? What do I have to understand about this process in order to be able to teach it to her? And so all those things even force me to be more present in what I'm doing just day to day. So far, so good. I'm sure we're going to hit road bumps along the way, but for now, everything is copacetic and we are having a great time. I think I might even have her record a little bit and have like a separate file. I'll have it private or set just for family and friends, if, with a private link, so that she can kind of talk about what she's done in homeschool and how she feels about it, at least like once a week or so, just to kind of see her progression too throughout the year. And it might be something cool for her evaluator to be able to check out too. So that's how that works. If you're unfamiliar, we do the educating here. We keep a portfolio of her work throughout the year. What they're looking for more than did you get X number of units of this done, is that they're looking for progression throughout the year. They're looking for improvement, better comprehension. We do have to get a private evaluator to evaluate her portfolio. She will let us know if it is acceptable or not, and then we will go from there and file for the next year. Not every day is going to be like birthdays and butterflies, but the past couple of days have been pretty good. And as far as I'm concerned, we're just going to get a head start while we can. And then that'll help make up for the days where maybe I'm not feeling too hot or she's not feeling too hot, and we just want to take a little bit of a break from schooling. We can certainly do that at any time. And we're going to stack up the days now while we can. So it's been really great to get to do this with her so far. And I will check in with you guys soon. All right. Take it easy. Bye.